Well, we got two awesome ATVs here. The Cforce Touring 600. Honestly, it's really hard to pick a clear winner. So I'm mostly going to be talking about the differences between the Cforce 600 and the Polaris, the 450.
In all honesty, I really like the comfort. I just like the CF Moto better than the 450 in almost every way, except honestly the only thing the Polaris 450 is I really like the power delivery. All the power, it's all low end, it's all low end grunt. This one, believe it or not, gives you a little bit more confidence to go faster, which might be a bad thing for my rental business.
Now both are great ATVs and both have advantages and disadvantages. First, let's start off with the Cforce 600. Personally, I love the way the Cforce 600 looks. It's just a beautiful machine. The paint quality is excellent, and not to mention for the price, you do get a two-seater. You have upgraded rims and upgraded tires.
And once you're on the revs, it definitely moves. Wow, this machine is, wow, very, very comfortable. But this thing, wow, man, the suspensions are amazing.
You have a beautiful LED light front and back. It comes with a winch already. For the price, you can't beat it. As far as control and handling, they both are great ATVs. It's really hard to pick the difference between the two when it comes to handling, but I mostly feel going over the rocks and its flexing, the Cforce 600 might have a better advantage.
Alright, for comparison purposes, let's give it a shot with the with this guy right here. Got it in reverse. You know, two-wheel drive. Let's just wait for this guy to pass by. That's kind of stiff on the rear brakes. Yeah, that's kind of stiff versus the CF Moto. So, okay, that 450, the 600 definitely has more kick. But I do like the delivery on this guy. Let's see how the throttle response is. Okay, so the CF Moto gives you a little bit more confidence. Yeah, I'm full throttling it over. Okay, let's go over here, this ditch. It's a pretty good machine, you know.
The Polaris 450, however, at speed does feel a little bit better. The steering is definitely a lot more stiff, quote unquote, because the Cforce 600 has power steering and the Polaris 450 does not. When it comes to the turning radius, I do feel like the Polaris 450 has a better turning radius than the Cforce 600. As I mentioned, the Cforce 600 is just much easier to turn around because of the power steering. Now I also have a Polaris 570, so comparing to the Polaris 570 and the Cforce 600, I much prefer the Cforce 600 when it comes to the power steering versus the 570. To me, the 570 has a little bit more of a loose steering, if that kind of makes sense, versus the Cforce 600. Now the main differences between these two is the power delivery. Clearly, the Polaris 450 has a lot more low end than the Cforce 600. In order for the Cforce 600 to actually get moving, you have to put it back up in the revs. However, I spoke with a few people on the forums and a few representatives, and it seems you can buy an aftermarket clutch kit which can deliver that typical low-end power delivery like traditional ATVs. From what I've heard and from what I've researched, it does absolutely no harm to the engine. Now when it comes to the Polaris 450, when I'm more at speed, I much prefer the Polaris 450 because of that low-end grunt and a little bit more predictable. However, the Cforce 600, you have to always be in the revs for it to move. As far as high quality feeling, honestly, I have to give it to the Cforce 600. It just feels like an overall better machine. The body, the lights, to even the winch just felt like it's a much better quality machine, believe it or not. However, as far as reliability goes, I'm not 100% sure yet. And to be honest, I have a Polaris 570, which at 4,000 miles, I already had to do the top end change. And at 4,000 miles, there's a lot of things I had to replace on the Polaris 570.
You know, it's funny because this trail is labeled as green, and it's not.
Now the trickiest part between the two is the power delivery and handling at speed. They are both almost different machines. Well, technically they are, because one has to be in the revs to move, one has power steering, the other is a two-seater, and one just delivers all that low-end grunt. However, it's pretty contradicting because I did say the Cforce 600 gives you more confidence to go faster at speed, but I believe it's a mix of that comfort, stability due to that power steering, and the most convincing factor, I think, it's because of that revvy nature. You want to be in the revs more often because it's just more fun. At first it was a little strange, but after you got used to it, you realize, hey, this is a lot of fun to be at speed. However, the Polaris 450, I do prefer it at higher speeds because it has that low-end tractor grunt, but yet, here comes the contradicting part. Although the Cforce 600 feels more stable at speed, meaning the steering does not wander as much and it goes more at a straighter line, I believe due to that power steering, the Polaris 450 has a more planted, heavy steering effect due to its weight distribution. And like I said, it's a little stiffer to steer, especially at speed, while the Cforce 600, I would say it's easier to oversteer if not experienced. So to give a perfect example, the Cforce 600 has already been flipped twice. I'm not sure if that was due to bad luck or the fact that the brakes are located on the right hand side of the throttle instead of being on the left side like the Polaris 450. And not to mention, the Polaris 450 is close to hitting 1,000 miles with 0 accidents and 0 flips. I honestly do feel though, the Polaris 450 is more beginner friendly, while the Cforce 600 is definitely a more fun of a machine. It makes you want to go faster, and I would say is reserved for someone who is just a little bit more experienced due to the amount of accidents I've had already on the Cforce 600. Now when I get it back from the shop, I might disable the power steering to see if that helps in the long run. Anyhow guys, keep in mind, this was my very first impression out on the trails, and I only tested it on this trail. When I get it back from the shop, I do plan on testing it a lot more frequently in a lot more different terrains such as 50-inch trails, faster trail systems, and of course, the more technical rockier trails just to see how they compare between the two. Then eventually I would love to compare it to the Polaris 570. Now the biggest factor here is price. Polaris 450, I believe I got it for around $10,000. It's one-seater, doesn't have many accessories, while the Cforce 600, I believe I got that one for around $8,000. It's a two-seater and it has a winch. Anyhow guys, be sure to subscribe, that way I can keep you guys updated on these reviews, especially once I get it back from the shop. I'll compare it between the two and the Polaris 570 and perhaps other ATVs, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.